come into my space, into my black pearl, and like we're vibing and we're doing great, and you're what's that, Cindy? Why is this there? And it's just
I'm
like,
like, at 7 o'clock in the morning, do we have to listen to your ratchet music bumping the whole time? And there you are, shaking your whole body. And I'm like, Cindy, it's 7 o'clock in the morning. We haven't even had our cup of coffee. Is this even necessary? So I know you're being personal with that comment when I went last time. I was like, can we just listen to like positive music? You're like, this is what gets me hype and ready for work. I'm like, where do you work?
Ignition sequence start.
And we are live with the Primas in 5,
4,
3,
2,
1.
¿Qué onda, Primas y Primos? Welcome back to the Primas podcast. I am the Prima Cindy B.
I'm Prima Jess.
It'll just be the two of us today, everybody, and we're talking attraction. So we're going to talk about how we can manifest it, how it's worked for us, and we're going to share some resources that have helped us with getting what out of being able to, I guess, control the law of attraction. Right?
Definitely. Yeah, exactly. That's what it is. We're going to deconstruct this concept. We understand it's not a real science. It's definitely a pseudoscience, but it's definitely a belief Cindy and I believe in. So we want to talk about it and give our insight on how it's worked in our life and different perspectives.
Yes. And I don't know if I would call it a pseudoscience. I think I'm so glad that you brought that up though, because that's cool, because it we were just talking, we really don't know what's going on ever in the system and in our world. And we're reading 1984, guys, which is a super cool book, 1984 by George Orwell. And it just explains kind of like how systems have been made up in history and just whatever. But we came to the conclusion that we don't really know what's going on. Like, it's like, dang, I wonder what's going on. And it's the same thing with this belief. Like, don't really know what's going on, but it's a spiritual calling. So to me, I wouldn't call it a pseudo. It might be, right? Like it could be considered that. But for me, it's like so big. It's such a huge part of who I am, like my spiritual awakening, and like when I aligned with myself and became fully conscious and aware of like how I could control my life through my thoughts. And it's a practice. I get that theoretically, like it's a belief, but it's a practice, right? Because it's like when we talked about karma, it's about checking yourself. We have stress, we have life, and but when you're able to come down to a place of like stillness and calmness, which really is the practice, then you're able to manifest. You're able to control your thoughts. So
that's exactly right. Yeah. I like how you mentioned that, because it's the root of our thoughts. And I think that's the biggest lesson, aside from our teachings in our our educational institutions. Learning how to control our thoughts has been our biggest message this whole year, right, Prima? Talking from the books. And even though you and I are firm believers of the mind, just understanding or grasping that concept of controlling our thoughts. That's the root of a lot of our messages lately. And yeah, one of the foundations of why we want to talk about law of attraction, because I completely agree. It is a manifestation of our thoughts. It's not just our actions. Our actions come from our thoughts. So we're just bringing it back a little bit deeper into the mind.
Ah, yes, that's beautiful. I'm so glad that we're having this conversation, because it's I'm not a religious person, and I don't really like the term, but in this sense, this is my religion, to practice peace and love and compassion and respect. Though that's a huge part of my everyday actions. And when I'm aligned with that, because sometimes I come out of alignment, and that's okay, we all do. We're human. When I'm aligned, it feels so peaceful. It feels so freeing. It feels like I'm not a master meditator, of course. I'm still practicing every day through deep breathing. I do a lot of deep breathing, and I think eventually I'll hold meditation. But it is freeing. It lets you know when you let go of control and your ego, and you take control of your ego, right? Because our ego is there to defend, like it's there to protect, like when we need to be snappy. No, just kidding. But evolutionarily speaking, that is a word, right?
Heated of, when no one headed, take headed.
We said that?
Mhm.
Yes. Okay, cool.
We Googled it.
We googled it. Yeah, you know, our ego's there for a reason, but it's there to help us when we need it, and we need to be able to control that. We can't let our egos control us, because when our egos get the best of us, and like I said, this still happens to me. Um, you know, it's something that I have to. Deep breathing is what really has helped. It's changed my life. And when people tell me, like, I don't know, when people talk and vent to you about stuff. The other day my mom was, she's going through some stuff, and she's just like, yeah, like, I don't know what to do anymore. And I'm like, man, the best advice I can give is deep breathing, because I feel like she has depression and anxiety and just like negative thoughts, but she wants to come out of it. You can just tell. And I'm just like, slow down, like learn to just relax. And at least at that point, you can come to a conclusion and say, how do you want to feel? Ask yourself. Now that you're relaxed and you're taking deep breaths and you're telling your body there's no threat, let's relax. We're gonna be okay. I feel like you get back into alignment, and now you can say, I want to feel at peace, or I want to feel happy, pain free, or I want to feel whatever. We can speak that into existence.
Yeah,
So
it's
that's the law of
definitely
attraction.
exactly. That's baby steps, like just identifying your mom just wants to break out of that. The way she's been thinking for how many years she's been on this planet.
The way she's been thinking, exactly.
Yeah, it's hard. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes time, practice, and patience. Because again, she's been thinking this way, and it goes back to our childhood trauma where we were taught a certain way, we were raised a certain way, and it's hard to break those ideas. It's hard to break that process. It's all in the power of our thoughts, which definitely comes with deep breathing, helps you regulate it, right? Helps you center you back. Because as we mentioned in our fear episode, your mind and body are not aligned at that time. And deep breathing brings you back to the present and aligns you with mind, body, and soul. So definitely, deep breathing is a great exercise everyone can practice.
So we kind of jumped right into it, but I do, in case some people are like, well, what is it? I've heard that term, but I don't really know what that means. So I'm gonna just read like an internet version. So what's the law of attraction? Attraction is the attractive magnetic power of the universe that manifests through everyone and through everything. So that one's kind of, I don't know, I was just like, what? So this is another. It is the part of the creative power of the universe. Even the law of gravity is part of the law of attraction. This law attracts thoughts, ideas, people, situations, circumstances, and the things you think about.
It's like frequencies and energies.
Yes.
Your
Yeah.
intuition around you in your environment, not only what you're emitting, but what's coming back towards you.
That's good. Yeah, your energy, right? Like, what vibe are you putting out? And I remember when I used to teach, I remember telling students like about energy, and about that, like a vibe. And I remember telling them, like, do you imagine, in a situation where someone was just like, their vibe, their energy was like super amazing, and they made you laugh, you felt comfortable. You remember those experiences. So I'm like, think of that moment, think of those people, whatever. They walk into a room, and just the room and energy is so powerful because they're in such a good mood. And it just makes everybody like, damn, I don't know why, but all of a sudden I'm in a good mood, right? And it's just like, wow, what beautiful energy. And so that's another way to put it, what Jessica was saying. And that's what I was trying to explain, that the same exact opposite behavior, if someone the room and they're just really down and something happened and, you know, they're hurting and whatever, you know, like whatever situation it is, that also infection. You know, it's like it attracts. It's like what, and then you've got to protect your energy, right? Because when some people are like that, you have to learn. It's very easy for us to just come down on that energy and be like, man, I feel you. And now there's two depressed people in the room, right? Versus someone saying like, hey, look, let's take some breath. Let's think about what we're thankful for, right? Like keep it positive so that you can come back in alignment regardless of what happens, because our life is supposed to have contrast in that they're supposed to be like life where it's just like, man, I feel like shit, or like this is hard, or I think those moments are so transformational, and we're so afraid to reach those moments. We stay in a safe space. Um, my life has taken me to, like, adversity has, I, you know, before I used to hate it. I used to hate like that, you know, when you have to go through stuff growing up and you're just like, man, why did that happen to me? To accept it and see that it was a part of my destiny through The Alchemist. That book is awesome. That book really changed my life too. And I know it's like a popular book, but I just barely read it like a few weeks ago, and I was just like, man, that's so beautiful. Um, it also explains, you know, when you're trying to heal um your trauma, it kind of helps to look at it in a different way. And in The Alchemist, it says it was your destiny. Everything we ever do, there's no right or wrong. It's all a part of your destiny. And if you take the wrong turn or you get out of alignment, the world will get you back. And you're just gonna feel very uncomfortable. And I feel like that's when people kind of settle or die while they're still alive, where they're just like, well, I'm just gonna do this because it's the safe thing to do and I feel secure. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not knocking that, you know. But if you're more fearless, if you're more carefree, I feel like it's more freeing. I feel like we all have a purpose, like on this planet Earth, on this experience.
Yeah, and I want to continue to talk about how the law of attraction has made an influential mark in both our lives. Like, Prima, if you don't mind me asking, I know we talked about it and we have this belief, but like, how long ago did you come up on this idea? Like, when did you become a believer in a sense?
Nice question. So of course it was when I became a mom. I was always inclined, right? Like I was always more self-aware, I feel, than a lot of people around me, where I'd be like, don't you see that? And people would be like, no, I don't. So I kind of started to notice early on where I'm like, certain behaviors were so clear to me, or like when somebody was lying, or like, you know, just like being like, oh, this person might be going through some stuff. They're not in the right state of mind, or oh, that person's happy. I don't know.
A lot of
But when I
empathy, I
became a
think
mom,
you would have, right?
yeah, myself in people's shoes. So when I feel like that's my superpower. It's a part of my superpower. It's like healing. It's like I get it. I understand. I'm still learning what it is, but I feel like that has a lot to do with it. But that's why I also really enjoyed psychology, you know, because it helps explain even more about what human behavior is, and it's beautiful. Um, so yeah, when I became a mom, I remember my mom put me onto, her name is Louise Hayes. Louise Hayes. I don't really know how to pronounce her name, but she was really cool because I've always struggled. Me and my mom have always struggled with our relationship, but we've always like tried on it to break generational cycles of like toxic behavior. And so we're still working on it. We don't have the answers. We're just trying to be our best selves and fucking trying to figure it out, you know, because it's crazy. Um, you know, we've always struggled with our relationship. And so I remember listening to Louise Hay say, you can't be, you can't put the blame on your parents. You know, a lot of us would be like, well, that's how I was. They're like, well, it's because my mom used to be, well, it's because my mom treated me differently from my brothers. You know, whatever situation I may feel. She said, Louise Hay said, all of our parents are doing the best that they resources that they have. And that just, the connection blew my mind, that I finally understood, like, that's true. As a parent, like I had just had my daughter, and I'm just like, damn, that's true. You know, it took me to be a mom and to have that crazy responsibility, that that changes, it changes your life, that allowed me to make the connection of like, like it took my understanding to a different place. And then I had more adversity happen, and I was trying to heal from it and say, I don't want this to happen in my life. And I found the law of attraction. I found people saying you can be in control of life, because I didn't feel right not being in alignment. And I knew that it was all a message from the universe that I've gone through. It was like taking me to where I needed. I love everything that's happened, in my life, but now I can see it. Now I can understand that how I attracted everything that was going on, and now that I have control because I understand to understand to work on myself and to be patient with myself, with the world, everything, and it's every single day work.
You're right.
So
And that's just,
now I feel more in control.
and I like how you mentioned that, because going through all that, that's just part of the formula, right? To the bigger plan of our destiny. It just goes back to everything. Like it goes in the formula of self-care, love, self-love, and being this person and that person that we want to be. And this is part of the mastery of getting to that better version of ourselves, is understanding our thoughts and putting them to fruition in what we want for our lives, not just settling and stopping these thoughts or these dreams of ours by saying, okay, well, life happened, and this is the card I was dealt with, and this is the hand I'm going to play. It's like making those moves and choices for us, because all we have is our own control, right? Which I keep talking about, guys. I'm just learning that idea, that concept. All I have is control of myself. So I can't control anyone else in this world, on this planet, not even my own daughter. I have to let go of that idea, let go of that belief that I used to struggle with. So it all starts with our thoughts, and just trying to control them, because our thoughts are so powerful, our mind is so complex, and I've seen it work where I'm like, this is law of attraction. I brought this into my existence because I was thinking, not only thinking towards it, but putting my actions towards it. Not just allowing one day, I'm just waiting for opportunities to knock on my door. Like me going out and seeking those opportunities for what I want for myself. And you're right, along the path, which we learned in the books, there's different routes. There's no one route or one lane to A and B. There's going to be several different turns and twists and hills and obstacles and adversities. We are all going to come through, because that's life, right? Nothing's perfect. But I love how this book just, it kind of correlates with karma. Wouldn't you agree that it just goes hand in hand with karma?
What book, Jess? Did you already mention the book?
I was referencing the 7 Spiritual Laws by Deepak Chopra.
Oh, okay.
When we were talking about like kind of karma, how law of attraction kind of goes hand in hand and is like very similar. I wouldn't say they're the same, but very similar concepts. Would you agree? Or right? Like we need a good understanding of both.
Yes, and I want to ask you, when did your, I guess, alignment awakening happen?
Yeah, mine slapped me super hard. I'm just kidding. I remember I was working about like 8 years ago. I started like my first office job, and I met like the craziest crew out in the valley. Shout out to San Fernando Valley. Psych, I hate the valley. I met some of my really good friends who I still have to this day. And one day we were just talking about it, and she's like, hey, you talk about a lot of this. Have you ever heard of this idea? And that's when she said it, law of attraction. I said, no. And then she gave me a book that's called The Secret, which is all about law of attraction. And that blew my mind. And I said, this is exactly what I believe in, because I'm not very religious. I try not to believe ideologies like that control my belief or my actions, but this is very similar. If I had to label it, my religion would be law of attraction. So it's been a practice of mine since then. So 8 years ago, And I try my best. I haven't mastered it because I've messed up. I've done, not the best. I never made the best choice every single time. And I saw that come
wait,
back.
wait. This practice is that no choice is ever the wrong choice. So we have to change our language in order to heal ourselves, because just commit mistakes. I know as society we say, yeah, you did this and that was bad, so therefore now you think you made a mistake, right? And it's just all learn. No one knows how to do it. We're all trying to figure it out with the resources that we have. We're all doing our best. So I don't look at the past like when people are like, well, that she was doing. I was like, no, I fucking wasn't. I was living. We were living. We're not, we weren't being crazy and harmless and reckless. We were being responsible. Um. So anyway, sorry.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Cindy. And we're always saying that, but it takes time and practice for me to change my way of thinking. It's not going to happen.
Great. Okay, so I wanted to give you guys some quotes just in case we're still not making sense about what law of attraction is. So, this is a quote by Michael Beckwith, and this is explaining the law of attraction. You can begin to shape your own destiny by the attitude that you keep. So you can begin to shape your own destiny by the attitude that you keep, meaning that you can control your destiny by what you think, right? Because the attitude that you keep is coming from your thoughts. What attitude, what energy are you putting out? If you're mad about something, if you're worried, if you're fearful, if you're frustrated, you're going to put out that energy. If you stop worrying, if you control, that takes a lot of practice and learning. I just said, like, I still need practice, and I do too. Like, I'm reactive every once in a while. Or when we're driving, I feel like that's a good indicator of where we are mentally and emotionally, like where we are in life, because people will test our control, right? Everybody in the road feels like we own the road, and everybody else is just like in our way. And I just always remember, like, studying psychology, it's still a very huge interest of mine, so I still learn a lot about it. And I remember, just for me, that was an interest when I was younger, when I was learning psychology, like the behavior of people out on the road. Like, you can tell a lot about a person by how they drive. And I'm not even talking about the technical aspects. I'm talking about their attitudes towards the world driving. Like, is it patient? Is it mostly it's not, right? Like, I used to cuss so much when I used to live in LA. I used to cuss all the time when I was driving, and I don't anymore. I mean, I live in
I
Colorado.
know. You remind me every time I go out there and I'm driving your Black Pearl. You're like, Jess, why are you so angry? Jess, why are you flipping off this person? And it's just, I don't know if it's the LA in me.
I think it's a big, you're in traffic all the time. Everyone's talking shit. Like, it's not a big deal. We don't think about it.
And I think I'm very patient, but you're right. I could be a little bit better. I have, as I've grown, I'm not as impulsive on the streets as I used to be, especially with my daughter in the vehicle. I don't do that. I try not to honk anymore. But you're right. You see someone, their true person when they're driving.
You can tell a lot. Yeah, you just can tell a lot about someone's driving behavior. It's like like mind my own business when someone's driving. Like, I need to start telling you. But yeah, you come into my space, into my Black Pearl, and like we're vibing and we're doing great, and you're just what's that, Cindy? Why is this there? And it's just
I'm like at 7 o'clock in the morning. Do we have to listen to your ratchet music bumping the whole time? And there you are, shaking your whole body. And I'm like, Cindy, it's 7 o'clock in the morning. We haven't even had our cup of coffee. Is this even necessary? So I know you're being personal with that comment when I went last time. I was like, can we just listen to like positive music? Or like, this is what gets me hype and ready for work. I'm like, where do you work?
Wow, we just have different tastes in music. I feel like your music is very sleepy. It's like very jazzy. Like, I know it's not even jazz, but it's like, oh no, it's too relaxing. And like Eloy and Martin also like music like that, and they're friends, and it's just like, yeah, I need something a little bit more hype. Even if it's Spanish music, it has to have like emotion. And
I get it.
Yeah.
But you're right. We're gonna keep making these I don't want to even see, I was going to say mistakes. We're going to learn by different choices in our lives. And you're emitting that positivity or even negative in your life by going through it, right? By living, by going through these experiences, you're only going to be wiser. So even if at that time, quote unquote, they were considered mistakes, we learned so much more had we not taken that route and actually made a different choice in our lives, right? Because we can't control the past. All we can do is just analyze it in hopes to never continue to make it a pattern or a trend in our life. And I don't think we have. I think as we're getting older and applying this idea, concept, belief into our lives is making us the best version of ourselves.
Yes, because it has an accountability factor. You know, like once you get hip to the idea of law of attraction, and you understand it, and it just works with you, and it comes at different times for people. This doesn't mean that if you don't understand this that you're wrong. And it could just be like, well, I choose not to believe that, right? Like we said in the beginning, like this is just something it's a very big part of us. Um okay, so I wanted to also say another quote. So this is from Napoleon Hill. Really want in the book club, really want to read a book of this author next. I don't think he's an author. Anyway, so Napoleon Hill says, keep your mind fixed on what you want in life and not what on you don't want.
Yeah, that's changing that mindset to viewing your life as it's half full as opposed to half empty. I use that analogy a lot. But it's true. It's focusing on the positivity, focusing on your goals, focusing on your success, and whatever that means to the individual. Not what Cindy's success is and applies to her in her life or mine, but understanding and applying that within yourself. So I remember when I just graduated from Cal State LA. I've had my car for 12 years. And I said, I don't need a new car. It's very old school, so old school, it has the roll down windows, right? I said, I didn't need a new car. I didn't need a car. But somewhere deep down, I would always tell myself, it started with my thoughts. When I graduated college, I was going to buy myself a new car. I thought, you know what? I don't know how much longer my car is going to give out. I didn't want it to ever stop working when I had my daughter for safety reasons, because I didn't know how to like change a tire, or, I'm not very good with the mechanics of a vehicle. So I always just thought about it, just said in my mind for 2 years, I'm going to treat myself to that. I'm going to treat it. But never did I save money and say, this is going to go to my car, or none of that. I just always thought about it. And law of attraction, in May, a week before I graduated college, I took my car in for like a routine inspection because I needed to register it for my tags. I had to take it in for a small check, and my car has all the lights lit up all the time. Like that was normal. So I'm like, okay, it's gonna pass. Like it shakes all the time, but I'm like, these are norms of my car, right? And so I was like, for sure she's gonna pass the smog check.
Their personal characteristics.
Yeah.
That's just her personality.
Yeah. So I was like, yeah, it's gonna pass. And sure enough, the dealership was like, actually, you need this, this, and that, and it's gonna come out to about 4 G's. And I was like, I can't afford that. Like, I haven't even finished school yet. I don't have a good paying job. And they're like, okay, well, trade it in. And you'll use this as a down and put 0 down on a new car. And isn't that, if not law of attraction, then what is? And the week of my graduation, I walked out with the new 2020 car, which is a complete upgrade from my vehicle.
I know, I love your car.
Isn't that awesome? Law of attraction?
Because you thought about it so much, right? Like that was just a desire that you're like, I need another car for my family. I just need a stable situation with my car. And you kept thinking about that so much that you spoke it into existence. That's the law of attraction.
And I would always say, whenever I thought about it, was when I graduated. And even though I hadn't technically graduated, it was the week of my graduation. And it just blows my mind.
It was around that time. Yeah.
Yeah. And I thought that
awesome.
was crazy. And when I look back, I'm like, that's law of attraction. It just, the universe was saying, there you go.
Yeah.
We got your back.
Do you feel in a way that the law of attraction makes you sort of surrender to something?
I don't want to say
order for it to happen?
surrender. To me, surrender would not be the word I use. I would say more, I like power. I would say it's the power of my thoughts, not surrender. To me.
For me, it's surrender. For me, I have to surrender to my ego. Like, if I do get a negative thought, I have to tell myself, like, you should be thankful for what you have. You should be thankful for being alive. Like, it always goes back to, like, you need to check yourself. Like, don't complain. Because our complaints are usually not that, we're always complaining. And it's about being proactive. Like, you have control over all of this. Like, if you want a different outcome, put yourself in a place where you can have a different outcome. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about how you can put yourself in a place for the outcome that you want, because maybe you understand that the law of attraction is about your thoughts, but it's just like, well, how do I even get there, right? And so these are some things that have worked for us. We mentioned The Secret. We mentioned The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success by Deepak Chopra. And Deepak Chopra has a lot of cool stuff on law of attraction. So do a bunch of other people. Abraham Hicks, Esther Hicks, Dr. Joe Dispenza. He's super cool, and he's a neuroscientist. He's awesome. And he does a lot of research on this stuff. So there's a lot of resources out there, and I wanted to talk about one that I found about Deepak Chopra. So how can you put yourself in a place where you can create what you want? You got to ask yourself, what is happiness to me? Because happiness is different for everybody, right? For some person that could be like, well, happiness for me is moving out and doing this, right? For someone, it can be happiness for me is to have a stable job and to buy a new car, right? It's so different and unique for everybody. So you need to define what happiness means to you, what success means to you. For me, I live a very minimalist lifestyle, and no matter how much money I make or don't make, that to me, that's success, because it's freedom, because those are my needs, right? Like, I'm feeding that. These are the things that I desire. I desire a place of peace and comfort with a minimal materialistic lifestyle. But that just works for me, right? For you, it could be like, no, I want a beautiful big house full of like cool stuff. Like, it's different for everybody. So you got to ask yourself, what is your purpose? We all have a purpose. To this life with a purpose. And Jess, I wanted to tell you that I was watching a YouTube video with Deepak Chopra, and he said that we should ask our kids as young as 4. He's 4 now, and he will be 4 one day. And as young, they're not going to necessarily understand what the question is about, but that's the moment where you need to start letting them know, like, you have a purpose in this life. And I do. And she's like, well, I don't know what you mean. I don't know, and I'm like, you have like a superpower. You're here to do something. You're here to spread some type of message or something. And she's like, no, I don't have superpowers, because she's talking about superpowers like Wonder Woman and Elsa and all of these, mythical things. And I'm just like, no, that is just one type of superpower. Like, I'm talking about something positive to contribute to this experience. Anyway, I understand, but at least I put that seed in that, and I think we should spread that message, because I believe that it's true. I believe that we all have for a purpose. We all have a specific purpose to bring. And a lot of people, we get out of alignment with the God inside of us, with ourselves, with our soul, with the higher power, whatever you want to call it. And sometimes we settle for certain things out of comfort and safety.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I remember we kind of touched the waters of this when we were in book club. But that idea, instilling it in our children very young, because they do understand our words, they do understand our energy, and putting that into their universe at such a young age is setting them on the right path for their own, to figure out life on their own, but we're going to give them these tools at a very young early age, where they start questioning themselves and say, yeah, what does make me happy, as opposed to, which I think I'm being conscious of when I am talking to my daughter, I don't want her to ask questions about herself, such as, well, what's going to make mom happy, or what's going to make dad happy? It's like, it's all about you. We're just here to guide you and love you and give you the tools of life to succeed and survive, right? Like our basic needs. But I do want my daughter to start asking herself, well, what makes me happy? And at a very young age, that's not, there's nothing wrong about instilling that seed, like you said, at this age, at 4 years old. And a lot of people would probably question, they're too young, they don't understand. But as our last week's episode had mentioned, when we talked about co-parenting, kids understand at a very young age.
They start making sense of things. They start making connections that you're like, what? They're easy. Like, all kids. I know we're being biased. We're talking about our kids, but I've been in a I can work with kids like different ages, and they're so amazing. Like, and that to me is another spiritual thing. Like, they're so resilient and resistant. Like, more than any other generation, they're here, and they're very demanding. And a lot of people call it
bossy.
What do they call it? Millennials, bossy. It's there's other terms like
selfish.
It's like privileged. Like, you think you deserve this, but you don't. What is that called? Entitled.
Oh.
Like, people are so entitled, or like they say, like the younger generations, like, you guys feel so entitled, but it's just like, that's their way of looking at the world. They feel like, yes, they do deserve everything they want. And so I'm like, why can't we look at that argument, like, and question that and say, why can't they come here with that energy and say, I'm coming for what I came here to do. If you're gonna stand in my way, it's gonna look like I'm a bad teen, or like I'm, you know what I'm saying, like I'm doing the wrong thing, when it's just like, no, people are just following their destiny. We stop being love to our kids for different reasons, and then that's when it all goes crazy, because we don't have ourselves on check, right? That's our environment, and no one's really at fault. Like, we do need to hold ourselves accountable, but I'm just saying, I'm not judging, because we're all doing the best that we can with the resources that we have. But we do need to question ourselves, and we do need to say, like, how can I be the best me, so that I can show up for my kids, for my partner, for my employer, for my friends, my cousins, whoever. Like, put yourself in a position where you're able to do. And that takes a lot of self-awareness. Like, what are some things that make you upset? Go into that. Hard work. It's uncomfortable, but it's freeing afterwards. Like, do the hard work of therapy. Do the hard work of asking yourself, okay, maybe I do need to change my perspective. Maybe I am being reactive from my childhood trauma, and that's why I'm not able to have healthy relationships. Or maybe I need to take a break from relationships, because even though I believe in the, I know that I have to do work on myself. Otherwise, I'm going to attract hurt, right? And brokenness, because that's what I'm dealing with. That's what I'm feeling. I attract generational, what do you call it? Generational curses, like trauma with like relationships between moms and daughters, and like the Mexican culture. And I'm talking for my relationship with my mom and her relationship with her mom, and like just kind of like a machista type of situation that we're dealing with, and there's resentment, so I don't know. I don't know why I got into. I'm just like, in every episode we uncover more and more of our childhood trauma. People at the end are gonna be like, "Damn, really need to work on that." I am, you guys, I promise.
She needs a lot of therapy. Just kidding. No, guys, we're not judging.
No, yeah.
We're here to understand. But no, it's that transparency that we just want people to be relatable to us for, because of all the adversities we've gone through. And we just want people to know, like, hey, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. We just got to help each other. And Let's start with this. Let's start controlling our thoughts. Otherwise, the thought police are going to come. Ooh, you like how I did that? That was a reference from 1984.
1984. What a great book, right? Okay. So, yeah, you guys, I don't know. I hope that answered some questions. I do want to leave you with, in order for you to get into a place that, you know, you're able to manifest your own destiny, is that you have to get in alignment with yourself. You have to ask yourself questions about yourself, define what success and happiness and peace mean to you, and then go after those goals. Every single day, do something that's going to align you to that. And if you do something that's alignment, you're going to feel it. You're going to feel like, I shouldn't have done that. We all know those moments. We all tell ourselves, you know, like, why did I do that? And that's okay. Correct yourself though, you know, don't waste any more time. You're chasing your dreams, your goals.
Emma, I thought you were going to, before closing goodbyes, I thought you were going to talk about on your mirror when you write your words of affirmation every day.
Okay, yeah, sorry.
Those are strong.
So another really cool thing that has helped me, and you hear it a lot, you know, on YouTube channels, like different motivational speakers or whatever, they say like to create vision boards. I don't have like your traditional vision boards with pictures and stuff, but I still write down affirmations, which to me, I'm still technically doing the same thing. Like I'm standing in front, I'm reading them, taking deep breaths while I'm doing it. I'm saying, you know, this is what I want and I believe it and I'm going to practice this today. So some examples of what I've written stuff in my closet. I go in there a lot, and then I've written stuff on my mirror, like with a dry erase marker, which I encourage everyone to do. Dry erase markers you can get wherever. They're super cheap. And we all have mirrors, and you just write something that is going to encourage you to move towards your goals. So I want to share real quick on my where is it at? I don't remember. Okay. What I have on my mirror is, I want to be surrounded with evidence of well-being. And what do I mean by that? Like when me and my mom were having like our issues, you know, we go kind of like spirals, and sometimes it gets really bad and sometimes it gets better. And right now it's really good, and we're hoping to keep it that way. But when that was happening, it was making me feel very uncomfortable with myself because I was feeding into it. We were both feeding each other with like super crazy hostile energy. And at the time I'm like, get control of your damn energy. And so I wrote it down. I wrote, I want, and it just wasn't with her. It was, you know, like when you're out of alignment, seeing it everywhere. Like you start seeing it everywhere. I start getting mad when I'm driving now, like they did that on purpose. And it's just like, whoa, right? Because going back to the driving and behavior. And so I know that I'm letting my ego take the best of me, and I need to. So I wrote down, I want to be surrounded by, meaning that I want the best out of my mom in any relationship that I have, any situation that I go into. And in order for me to do that, I understand that I have to get into that energy. And so I read that in order for me to get that energy back, I need to put that energy out. Regardless of what energy is being thrown at me, I need to take control because I don't want to be. And one of us has to do it, right? Whoever situation you're in, like, I can't wait for someone else to say, this is uncomfortable for me. I feel uncomfortable and I want to do something about it. And I take control of my energy by reminding myself every single day what I have to do. So that's just one example of mine. Do you have an example, Jess, of like what you write?
No, I do like your idea. I do not write those words of affirmation on my mirror. However, I do think about them pretty often. I don't write them down anywhere. I just like to think about them and seeing me in that situation that I want for myself. Does that make sense?
Visualization.
Yeah, visualizing it.
So that's good that you say that because I feel like it's different for everybody. For the longest time, vision boards, I'm like, that's too corny. Like, I don't like all of these pictures. And like, I'm a minimalist. I don't like having more stuff added. But then when I just started to just write it on a piece of paper and putting it on that's just one piece of paper on my closet, or I'm writing it on my mirror, that to recite it. But you visualizing it is the same. It's technically the same idea. So right. Visualization is another tool you can use. And what type of world do you want? Visualize. What does that look like for you? What kind of place are you living in? What location? What type of relationships do you have? What qualities do people have? I wanted everything, right? Like, and I wrote that down. Like, you got to get detailed about what you want and practice it. So that's great that you said that, just because visualization is literally a type of vision board, right? Because you're just like, well, this is the type of car that I want. This is the color that I want. How does that car smell? Like, what are you gonna do with it? Or you like, you really need to feel it, visualize it, see it, read it. However. Yeah, I think that was it. I wanted to say that our thoughts are very important, you guys. Meditation will get you to a place of alignment, and I know that's hard work, and I don't like speaking too much on meditation because it's like I don't even technically meditate. I do a lot of deep breathing work. In the morning when I wake up, I take deep breaths. I do it all the time with my daughter right before we go to sleep, or if she's feeling a little exhausted or overwhelmed and she starts crying about, I just know that she's um I try to show her, like, hey, whenever you're feeling upset, like, learn how to also bring yourself down. And so I'm trying to create that habit in her, that when I'm not with her, when she's just out in the world, like, if you don't feel good, understand that you can come back into alignment with yourself. Taking deep breaths. So deep breathing helps. Asking, you shall receive. Ask for what you want, put it out there in the universe. That's the law of attraction. You have to believe. But it's a big thing. I encourage you guys to do your research, even if you think this is crazy. Always, you never know. It might be crazy, but it might also answer some questions for you. So don't close your off universe. Like, what is that quote? The teacher shows when the student is available or open, something like that, right? It's like
Just like a
the
Mr.
master appears
Miyagi.
when the student is, yeah, like the master appears when the student is ready. Some wisdom stuff. I am pretty sure people are like, this is what it means, and so I know that I'm saying it wrong. But the idea is the answers and the messages to what you want are everywhere, because you might be asking yourself, like, I don't know what I want as a success. I don't know what my like lost. Don't worry. Even you can fix that too, and ask the universe, say, or God, or whoever you believe in, like, say, I want answers. I want to know what my purpose is. Put that out there. I want to know what I define as success. I don't know. Whatever you need help with, put it out there. Ask, pray on it, sleep on it, think about it, and I promise you, out to the world, everybody is here to teach us something, and the universe sends you messages through everything, through situations, conversations, everything, you guys, everything. Like, once you start connecting the dots, you're like, oh, stop, that was for me. I needed to hear that. I needed to see that. I needed, whatever. Okay, sorry, I'm rambling. Any closing remarks?
In a nutshell, your thoughts are very powerful. So do not underestimate them.
Yes, thank you so much, you guys. We really hope that you enjoyed this. We really hope that there's some clarity in the law of attraction if you didn't know what it was before. If you do practice the law of attraction and you have some insight that we didn't talk about, please share it with us. Either DM us, share it in our comments, share our information with your friends. We're just trying to spread some love and some support on, if you want to step outside of your comfort zone, do it. We're doing it every single day. We're doing it with this podcast. And we encourage you guys all to live outside of your comfort zone, because that's where the freedom and that's where life really begins. We love you guys so much. Please follow us, Primas Podcast on Instagram, Primas Podcast on YouTube. We love you so much. Thank you, Eloy. Happy days.
Bye.
Bye.